very
Nice.
cool.
I know I love.
Yeah.
I love my country.
Call to order this meeting of the Park and Rec Commission, January 9th, 2019. Happy New Year, everyone. Roll call, please.
Fryer here. Needham here.
Covino present.
Boligoff present.
Boggs present.
Ocampo here.
Next, we move on to adoption of the agenda. Are there any deletions, additions, or changes or modifications to tonight's agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Next, we'll move on is to the approval of the minutes from our last meeting, which was November the 14th, 2018.
I move that we approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Citizens' communications. Anyone have anything?
No?
If we don't have any submitted communications, we'll move on to presentations. The Youth Advisory Committee, otherwise AKA YAC. Don't talk back. Okay, that's 2 puns for the night already. Oh my. Sorry, someone was staring right at me on the screen.
Hello. So I'm here to talk about the YAC. We completed our first year in Brisbane in a long time with the YAC. We started December, actually the end of November to last December. So that was our first full year. We had 5 members: Kate, Caleb, Olivia, Zuzu, Cassandra, and Avalon. 3 of them were 8th graders, and 2 of them were 7th graders. Accomplishments for the year, just being the first YAC for Brisbane, represent us in the peninsula with the other YACs. That was pretty big for them. They signed up, did not know what they were walking into, and going into a conference with a bunch of other YACs, they were like, whoa, that was awesome. We did a couple events with other cities. We did the YAC Attack and the YAC Social. The YAC Attack is a conference for youth. They attended sessions with fellow peers and got to interact with YACs from different counties. It was held at the Campbell Recreation Center. It was at the Campbell Recreation Center, and there was about, I want to say, 17 other YACs there with members. They had members, like, about 10 to 15 each city. So it was pretty big. They attended a smaller one, YAC Social, which is just the ones around the peninsula, which is Millbrae, Foster City, Brisbane, Belmont. It was kind of similar. They had a couple smaller sessions. So that was that. The YAC this year helped with a couple of events. They helped with Bike to Work Day in the park. They also came up with a teen summer camp. It was Project Give Back. This is the button, right? It's just scrolling. They did Project Give Back, and it was helping different organizations in Brisbane doing community work. So they helped Mountain Watch. They helped the summer camps. They went on a field trip with the summer camps. They did, what else did they do? Oh, and they helped the library. So it's awesome. Growth over the last year. The kids represented Brisbane in a great way. We were small but mighty. We had the smallest YAC in all of the peninsula. We had 5. And they saw what the YACs are capable of doing when they have big numbers in their cities, how they change stuff. This year, we have a couple of new members. We have 3 high schoolers. We have 2 8th graders and 3 7th graders. It's Caleb, Avalon, Zuzu, Sagar, Luca, Sebastian, Sophie, and Cherie. Some new projects that they want to start are mobile chargers around Brisbane for cell phones. They want to create a YAC survey and website. They want to start a physical and mental health awareness kind of pamphlet website for teens. And they want to do teen events at the community park. The direction of the YAC this year, the first meeting we had, all the new members really want to focus on health around the community. So they want the teens to be outside more, less video games, less TV watching, One of the main reasons why they want the mobile chargers. And they also want to do events down at Community Park, small little socials, once a month. Yeah, and that's it. What we got for the YAC coming up this year?
Just a quick question for you. Is there anything the YAC sees that the Park and Rec Commission can help them? How can we assist them?
That's a good question. I think they're going to be focused on doing park cleanups. If you guys have any ideas on that, they will be more than willing to hear you guys out. Hopefully in the future they're going to be here to introduce themselves, the new YAC. So maybe you guys can, they'll for sure have questions for you guys. And you guys can ask them questions also.
Well, I wanted to thank you for that report. It's been a long time in coming. I know almost as long as I've been on the commission, there's been this talk about let's get the YAC started, and now here it is. It's run a full year. It's really exciting to hear about it, so thanks for your report.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No, Ken, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
All right, moving on to old business. First up for old business is we're going to revisit our 2019 commission calendar. Everyone should have a copy of that calendar. This is kind of outlining the highlights of things that we want to cover potentially each month for this calendar year of 2019. Welcome any comments or feedback from members of the commission on it.
Did we talk about having a meeting where we actually went out and had the meeting at a facility or something like that? Have we talked about that?
We did. We put it tentatively on June as the off-site facilities tour.
Off-site facilities
Yeah.
tour, yes,
So,
yes. Okay.
Warmer, hopefully, and longer time of sunlight.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to put the idea in our heads of perhaps walking part of the Crocker Trail, as the Crocker Trail is hopefully going to gain some traction, no pun intended, in terms of our attention. Maybe that's not the thing we want to do when we get there, but I just wanted to kind of put that on our radar screen, that might be an informative meeting to have, to actually go out and look at some of the features that are on that trail.
Okay.
As we think about the future of the Crocker Trail.
I have a question. If we're gonna be off-site that day, are we gonna be able to have a program presentation?
Probably not. So we can move that either to the following month or a different month. It would make sense to me to move that.
Cool.
Does the commission have any preference when that goes?
I would suggest July, since we
Okay.
have a seniors presentation in May. I would move it to July.
Okay.
There's no presentation I see in the rest of this quarter, nothing in February or March, and or April. But yet we've got two things in the kind of the second quarter and third quarter, and then the last quarter of the year. There's programs throughout. Is there something else that we can think about potentially in the month of March you'd like to hear about? Any commissioners have any thoughts? Not suggesting we have to. I just trying to balance out the information we get. Welcome, Renee.
Sorry I'm late.
Any other comments or questions or recommendations for the calendar?
Kind of to your earlier comment, maybe it would be worthwhile to have the program presentation of like childcare and Club Lipman earlier in the year, just considering that usually follows a kind of school year. So if there was things we wanted to change, you'd have the time over the summer to be able to kind of make those changes.
Okay.
That would be just one idea.
So moving it potentially from October to March, or is that in addition to maybe having the program hear from it twice in the year, the calendar year, once before new school and then once it's already started?
Perhaps, or I was just thinking moving it just to balance out the quarters, but
Agreed.
yeah.
Kevin, you had?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm fine.
This is draft right now. If we need to make adjustments to it when our commission chair reviews the agenda, we can, if we make a change, add it then? Or,
You can make changes now and then just adopt it as
okay,
amended, and then we'll work from it going forward.
okay. Is there any objection to moving the October programs regarding to childcare and clubs, moving it to March of this year to hear about?
No.
No? So I make that, someone want to motion that amendment to the calendar?
All right, make a motion that we move the child care and Club Littman to March.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the other addition that we wanted to make was the moving of the program sports presentation from June to July. We have a recommendation to make that correction as well.
I motion to move the program presentation sports from June to July.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right. Moving on for old business is the work plan review and updates.
So the commission asked to bring this back at this time of year to review progress and status updates on specific items to the work plan, as well as to have an opportunity to add or change anything on the existing work plan as we enter into 2019. So what we did as staff was we kind of went through to update where we were with each specific strategy and action item, to provide an update and to reflect where we stand currently with those specific items. I don't know if it's the commission's desire to go through one by one and kind of address each item individually, or if you want to just kind of popcorn, and if there are specific action items that you want to discuss further, we can do so.
My thoughts on it, I appreciate the effort that staff has put into it, and I do like the percentage bars, that they're helpful to see what's gained traction, what hasn't. Those areas that have not started seem to me to be somewhat common of a theme, in the fact that the marina, nothing seems to have started there. So it's, the new year resolution time. I hope that maybe we move a little bit of bar this year on that one. That's my comments to that. That stands out to me. I know that my time on the commission, that's always been an area that we've talked about. Like the yak hasn't gone anywhere yet, but there's still momentum behind it. So
Well, we keep talking about getting kayak service in there too.
Yep.
And that's been talked about for a long time, but nothing's been done.
Yep.
But,
And a boat launch.
yes,
So, I think from staff's recommendation, I think if there's nothing pressing that any commissioner sees, I think we mull it over, look at it. I'm again appreciative of the time spent and what we have done. And the things that we've 100% complete is great, and just shows us what we have for the rest of the year to plan for and to work towards our goals.
Yeah, I would just say that there's two items on here, the signboards and trails, which we're going to discuss at some length further down the agenda, and I may come back and refer to the comments that are on here about the progress that are
Okay.
being done.
Thank you. Any other commissioners have any comments about the work plan?
One question I had was just in terms of the pop-up events and other kind of events. Is there a schedule that will be published of what kind of those 2019 events look like?
Yes, there will be.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. If nothing else, we'll move on to the rest of the old business, when that is the Festival of Lights debrief.
So we wanted to, usually we provide the commission with an opportunity to kind of debrief the events that we hold, and we did not meet as a commission subcommittee. We did meet internally as staff to kind of talk about what worked well and changes we want to implement for next year. So just to open up the floor to the commissioners, I think almost all of you were there, if not all of you. So that was exciting in itself.
I thought it was really well attended this year.
Yeah, it was I think one of the
A
largest
lot of
crowds.
people.
Yeah,
And it went smooth.
hopefully it seemed that way.
At least on the surface of it. We don't know what.
We, for the very first time ever, ran out of hot cocoa and hot cider
Oh, my God.
with about maybe 20 people left in line. We had plenty of cookies for everybody, but yes, we did run out of.
Wow.
I think Natalie was toward the back of that line.
The cookies and the snacks made up.
Yeah.
Really made up for it. And the extra whipped cream.
Yeah, I would second Bonnie's observation. I thought it was really a fantastic event. Very, very great attendance. Went smoothly from our point of view. So well done, both to the subcommittee and also to the staff, which I know you guys work really hard to make it appear like it's all run smoothly. And response from the community was great. I mean,
Yes.
it was a great way to kick off the holiday season. It went very well.
And I just wanted to give a thank you to Sharon also for the addition of the Santa photos. I think that was a hit and a welcomed surprise for a lot of families. They really
Right.
loved it, and without Sharon, it wouldn't have been possible. So thank you for that. Everybody loved like the big switch that we had donated.
Yeah, I saw the
from
big
Nick-
switch. That was neat.
from Nick Cohn. He built that, so wanted to give a shout out to him and say thank you also. And Frosty in the snow, I think, were appreciated.
Snow in the mud.
Yeah. But we did, I mean, since I've been here, the event has grown year over year, which is a great sign and a great indication from the community that they're enjoying the event, but also kind of a red flag to us to maybe increase staffing and increase supplies, and maybe in order to diminish the length of the lines, maybe explore the option of having 2 stations for cocoa and cookies so that people don't have to wait so long. Maybe having something for people to do while they wait in line for photos with Santa or the snow globe. So we're thinking about that as a team and how we can make it even better than it was in the year past. So, but thank you all for being present and supporting the event and being advocates for Festival of Lights. We appreciate having you out there and showing your support for staff too. So
Well, again, the staff, if it wasn't for all your team, it wouldn't be as successful.
It was a great event.
You really pull it all together.
it's a group effort. Yeah. We appreciate your input and support.
I think the little kids singing was cute.
Yeah, the Club Rec kids.
They were cute.
Yeah.
They did a great job.
They did a great job, and I think we'll probably do it again next year. We kind of treated it as like a little mini club as part of the after-school program, and the kids got behind it, and our staff got so behind it, and were so enthused and engaging. I think it really kind of everybody could pick up on that. So it was a nice addition since we didn't have the Lippman choir singing. So
From a sound perspective, those little people did phenomenal. Much better projection than the chorus kids did ever in this, so
nice.
we definitely need to have them back.
Let the 5-year-olds really belt it out.
Yep.
Thank you for that. Yeah, no, I had a great time. I was able to attend finally once in my time here. Except for the mud on the grass, it was great. But again, despite the weather, it turned into a nice night. Everyone was out. Everyone was enjoying. Met lots of new people. Everyone was having a grand time, even myself. Really enjoyed the snow. I got to experience snow later in the month at California Academy of Sciences, and same kind of snow. So it's good.
Did you wear better shoes? You didn't have mud shoes on that night.
I did not, no. All right, moving on to new business, signboard upgrades or updates. What should it be? Update?
Upgrade.
It's about upgrading the
Okay.
signboard.
Great update.
Okay.
So this has been a topic of conversation for quite some time and is finally formally coming to the larger commission, although it's been discussed at the subcommittee level for the last year. There's been conversations about how we can upgrade our existing signboards and have a solution that's more environmentally friendly and, I will eventually, more financially responsible. And so that we've talked about exploring what the options are. Currently, the signs are printed on thermal paper, which is not recyclable, which means that all of that waste goes straight to the landfill. And those figures were calculated to be over 1 ton of waste per year. In addition, the current system is fairly labor intensive in terms of the amount of time that staff spent working with people for their signboard requests, printing signs, and then having additional staff go out and post signs and then take down signs. So it's fairly labor intensive. In 2017, if you'll remember, we did the community-wide needs assessment, and as part of that process, we asked residents how they would feel about changes to the existing signboards. It was fairly split, the response. There was about 30% that felt that they would support changes to the signboards, 30% were unsure about how they felt about changes, and 30% felt that they wouldn't support changes. I don't know if I said would or wouldn't for the first one. So, but it was 30-30-30 for those three. And most of the objectionable responses were with regards to not wanting an additional light pollution in town, not wanting to lose the overall charm, the small town feel of the signboards, and concern about wasting additional electricity. So in an attempt to kind of respond to those hesitations of community members, we established a joint subcommittee with the Open Space and Ecology Committee. We had our Recreation Facilities Subcommittee meet with them on multiple occasions to explore the various potential options. They looked at simple letterboard signs that would have staff go out and actually piece in the individual letters to create messaging. We looked at split flap designs like you see in the train station where the letters spin. Although most of those applications were indoors and they weren't entirely outdoor friendly. We also looked at LCD and LED displays. The concern with those, I think, is that it would draw additional electricity and it would cause some light pollution. It's also fairly an expensive solution. So after some conversation about that, we got on the topic of electronic ink displays. And the technology for electronic ink displays is the same as you would see on like a Kindle or an e-reader. Actually, one of the company that we have been talking to sold their technology to Kindle for their e-readers. So the subcommittee talked about it at length and felt that that was probably the most appropriate direction to focus our research. And so they directed staff at that time to reach out to various companies with regards to their e-ink solutions and to come back to the subcommittee with potential alternatives. So we met with a company called e-ink and they gave a presentation of their technology. We expressed actually that the community would have a desire to preserve the small town charm of the existing signboard in the community park. And the e-ink company said that they could build in a solution around the existing frame and roof that's currently there to kind of protect that and keep that as part of the overall aesthetic. So we were excited to hear that. The e-ink solution would appear similar to that of the existing signs, being that it would be a simple standard white background with black lettering. The technology is black and white, but it can accommodate 16 different levels of gray. So it's essentially grayscale. You could project images if you chose to do so, but you could keep it as simple as looking like the existing signboard with black text on a white background, and very simple. The technology does not draw any power when it's displaying a stagnant image, so it only draws power when you're transforming the image or if you're adjusting it from one image to another. You would control it remotely up from an off-site location through Bluetooth, so you could update it as quickly as 30 seconds if you had a message ready to go, which would be helpful in times of emergencies or times where you need to get urgent information out to the community. So it has more functionality than our current signboard does and will allow for the display of more messaging than our current system allows. And that's a lot of the feedback that Tricia hears is that she'll get signboard requests last minute, but we already have signboards scheduled and leave them up for so many days, and so it would be nice to be able to accommodate all of the requests that we receive and have everybody's messaging be displayed for the community. So we got a very thorough presentation from E-Ink about their technology. I think I included in here a white paper that kind of just talks about the technology itself, and then hold on 1 second. Sorry, looking through all of these. I'm not going to go through the whole presentation, but just to give you a sense of the technology itself, they kind of described it like an Etch-a-Sketch, where you have, for lack of a better word, like a magnet that draws these modules, and Lyle's probably laughing at me because I'm sure he could explain this better than me. But it draws to the surface the ink in the places where you choose to have a message displayed. So it's not emitting any light. It's a very simple technology, although I have a horrible time explaining it. So if Lyle wants to explain it better than I.
You're doing a wonderful job. Do not worry.
But it has, these ink capsules inside the unit itself that draws to the surface based on the message that's displayed. It is sunproof, UV protected. We did talk to them about our concern for potential vandalism, and they said that it would be coated in like a tempered glass or acrylic to protect against any potential vandalism. On the right-hand side of this image is where it says City Hall Plaza. That's actually in Boston. That's a display that they've had there since 1999, and they've never replaced it or had any issues. So it's kind of cool to see it applied to a government organization, see how other agencies use it. The main reason that I wanted to show this was because of the power consumption. Part of the concern with LCD and LED displays was that it would constantly draw electricity and would be more cost prohibitive than a solution like E-Ink. And then this just kind of goes through their various different applications for the technology, but I thought it might be interesting to see. Hold 1 second. This gallery, these are all E-Ink displays. So it shows you what you can do with the grayscale if there was a desire down the road to display more graphic images. You could do ad for Live at Mission Blue or a special event that would mimic the rest of the marketing for those respective events. Or we often display memorial messages on the signboard, and the application would allow us to include an image if there was a desire to do that down the road. So although we're looking for a simple solution, there's additional capability that the technology would allow for down the line if there was a desire to use it for that purpose. So I just wanted to give you a sense of the technology and what it looks like. When they came to give the presentation, they did like a little mock-up. It's not a great image, but it was a unit that was maybe, 2 feet by 1 foot. And you can kind of see how the black text looks on the white background. It's very simple and easy to read.
Will it be both sides?
The community park signboard would be both sides, yes. And then the signboard at Mission Blue would just be single-sided. So.
All right. Yep. What about at night? If there's no light emitting.
So we currently have on the signboard in the community park, we have lights that project onto the
Is
sign.
that what we would use?
Yes.
Same lights?
Correct.
Cool.
Yes. So after meeting with E-Ink, they provided a proposal, which is your attachment C in your report. And then we reconvened the subcommittee with Open Space and Ecology. As you can see in their proposal, they indicated a price of $56,500 to install the 2-sided E-Ink display to replace the signboard at the community park. They haven't gotten a formal estimate to me for the 1-sided sign up at Mission Blue, but for now, I'm assuming it would be half that of the signboard at the community park because it would be the same size, just single-sided versus double-sided. So the total estimated cost for an e-ink solution to replace the existing signboards would be about $85,000. The current annual cost as provided to you underneath the fiscal impact in your agenda report demonstrates that we pay about $18,000 per year to operate the existing signboards, which includes staff time, the paper, the printer. And so if the city were to move forward with this as a potential solution, if you were to amortize the costs over several years, the e-ink signboards would pay for themselves by the 5th year. So at this time, the commission should discuss the potential, the proposal from the Open Space and Ecology and Park and Rec Facilities Subcommittee, and determine whether or not to make a recommendation to move forward with City Council.
Yeah, through,
One more question.
Sure.
You mentioned that there's cartridges for the ink that come to the surface. I know it's digital, so I don't know if this is a good question, but do we have to replace those cartridges?
No, they're like capsules.
And they just go up and push up against surface, so it creates
Up or
black
down,
ink?
uh-huh.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
That's cool.
But has the council approved this, or?
This is the stage before this goes to City
Okay,
Council.
that's what I was wondering.
Yes.
through the chair, I'd like to say a couple things about this. And first of all, going back to the commission work plan, even as we were lamenting that the marina hadn't done anything yet, we go down the next line and we see signboards as, we're almost there. I also wanted to acknowledge, I've been much involved in this from the beginning, and in the very early discussions, really, I was very focused on the environmental and the expense aspects of it, and we really didn't have the other side of the equation, the solution. Well, what would we replace it with? And I just wanted to acknowledge that the first mention we had of e-ink was David, actually, and I didn't quite know what that was, and I kind of carried that in my head. And as I talked to people, I would say, well, we could do this, we could do that. There's e-ink, and then in one of our joint meetings, that caught fire. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that we planted the seed of that in a meeting maybe a year ago. Of course, I'm very much for this. The other thing I wanted to say is when we look at the survey, the survey is split 3 ways. Where is it? A third would support it, third unsure, and a third would not support it. But what's also notable is that in the comments, most of the comments are from people who are against it. So what that tells me is that there was, when this was taken, a strong objection to that. But as I reread through the comments, I for the most part, the solution that we've come up with has addressed all of those. And a lot of the comments are from people who really weren't aware of the expense of it and the environmental aspect of it. So I think this is really great work on the staff's part, great work on everybody's part to come up with this solution. And of course, I wholeheartedly support this idea and think we should send it up to City Council. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Kevin. Other comments from commissioners?
I was for the idea once I got to the commission and heard that we were looking at it. I think this is brilliant, and frankly, I knew about Kindle technology, but had no idea they could make it in giant size. So I think this is a great solution, and that it's paying itself off in 5 years. That should be what everybody kind of focuses on.
Right.
We are, as a city, not going to have that expense anymore. And to maybe also put to the city council that one sign that's been there since 1999 to make it clear that obviously they don't need a lot of maintenance. So I thank you for all the work that you all have done. I think it's a great change to our community.
Agree.
Any other comments? So I have been part of it a little bit. I do understand the technology behind it, and I am all for it as well. From my perspective as well. Again, it's something that is going to reap, I think, a lot of benefits. And again, to your point, Kevin, looking at the comments in the survey, if people know now, because again, when the question's posed, electronic signboards, everyone's got a different idea what that might mean. Those who have been to Vegas think, oh my gosh,
Yes.
it's going to be Vegas, and other ideas. But now, if once you've seen the potential solution, I think some of these questions will be answered. Cost, weight, environment, how it's going to look. the ability for the e-ink to propose it in our current existing type of style of community signboard is a very positive as well. So lots of hard work's gone into this, and I appreciate it very much to this. Need to make a motion for the recommendation. So do we have a motion to recommend to City Council to pursue purchasing the digital signboard?
I will motion to present to City Council the proposal to proceed with e-ink signboard.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all for the hard work on this. Now we move on to reports. Chairperson, that is I. Nothing to report other than Happy New Year. Subcommittee reports. Start with the subcommittee meeting for recreational facilities, which is more about signboard.
Yeah, that subcommittee meeting was the last meeting we had on discussing the signboard. That was, we came back in that subcommittee with staff reports about the cost and the proposal. I don't know if there's much other reason to discuss it. There's nothing new from that meeting. You've heard what the recommendations, what we learned from that, and we've made the recommendation and made a motion on it. So
The only thing I would add was that we did very briefly broach the topic of the Festival of Lights tree, and that we would schedule a follow-up meeting with the Open Space and Ecology, the joint subcommittee, to meet and review potential solutions to the existing tree and go from there.
we also did talk a little bit about the next thing on the agenda, which is the use of the 280 South Hill sale proceeds with them, but that really wasn't within that group's purview to get into the
Correct.
into the weeds on that.
Yep.
Thank you for that report. I guess moving on to the next report having to do with the use of 280 South Hill sales proceeds.
Yeah, so we did have a meeting on that last night. I'm the representative for the commission, and a new committee member, Mary Rogers, I believe is her last name, was from OSEC, and Stuart sat in on it, as well as Karen Kinzer from OSEC. And my proposal to them, and this came as an idea from Stuart in a public arts advisory committee meeting. We had walked, the Public Arts Committee had walked the Crocker Trail. We were looking at how public art could be integrated into developing the Crocker Trail into a linear park. After we walked that at the meeting afterwards, the conversation came up about, well, perhaps we should take some monies and have a park plan developed. At which point Stuart suggested that might be something we would use some of the 280 funds for. So in this meeting, that was the gist of the conversation. I just did want to go back to this commission work plan, because as I read through this, I saw something in the first thing, the trails, which would be about this. And the third thing talked about a grant that had been applied that we hadn't got for exploring exercise clusters along trails. And one of the arguments for having us hire a consultant to come in and do a plan for us is that if we have that plan in place and we have identified the kinds of things we want that aren't funded, and we take that and identify the things that we do have funded, because we have some funding for it, and we take that to a granting agency, we have a stronger argument to start to get some of the grants. And there are, numerous grants available for different components. So our thinking is, or what I was advocating for in that meeting, is that we take some of those funds, and my understanding it would be about 50,000, maybe a little more, to have a plan done, which would incorporate our input as a Parks and Rec Commission, because we would basically be designing a park. It would also, of course, get input from the Public Arts Committee, because it would be a large public arts component. And would also get input from OSAC, because there are a lot of features on that Crocker Trail that could be habitat restoration or getting rid of invasive species and all that sort of stuff. Invasive species, I'm sorry. And so they were receptive to that. Mary and I had decided that we would walk that trail together. We were planning to do it this last weekend, but there was a huge storm. So we're hoping to do it next Sunday, which would be in advance of their meeting, which is a week from tonight. On their side of the equation, they have been pursuing, and they are interested in doing an extension of a path on in Firth Park. And so we discussed that as well. That's also about a $50,000 project. The total funds, if I recall correctly, the total funds that are in these 280 funds is $275,000. So even though if they spend that and we spend this, we still have $175,000 that could be applied to whatever we jointly agree to apply it to. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I have forgotten about this. Oh, well, we did also talk about it briefly in the OSEC meeting with two members of OSEC, and they were also quite enthusiastic about that idea. So the next thing that would happen is it will be discussed at the next OSEC meeting. I think maybe Stuart is going to go and talk in our behalf. My thing with it is that given that we have this $1 million allocated for the path itself, and those funds are going to come online for us to use in 2020, it would be nice to have this process really far along, because we don't really, before we do anything, I think we should have that master plan in place. It is my understanding, however, that the $1 million, it's $875,000 from a grant that Cliff Lentz, and I think you were involved in that. Yes,
sure.
And a couple of people were involved in that, and then another $125,000 that was allocated by the city council. There are certain restrictions of that grant. We can't just take that money and come up with a new idea. It really has to follow that. But that being said, I think that lays a really good groundwork, and if we looked at how that could be incorporated with a lot of other features, and then, even though they're not all funded, we could then begin to look for funding for it and so on. So I think it would be a good strategy to try to move this along pretty quickly, so that we could get this in the process, because it would be nice to spend a year process developing this before we start breaking ground for any development. Does that cover everything? Yeah.
Thank you for the recap. Appreciate that. You talked about master plan. I guess the overall master plan that we created with the trails and pedestrian master plan, that had part of Crocker Trail in that master, about updates and things like that. Are they combined at all? Separated?
I'll have to go back and look
okay.
at what was included in that master plan. I don't know if things pertaining to Crocker Trail were funded or not.
Okay.
But that's probably would be wise to revisit as part of this process.
Yep. Yeah, and I do remember, although I don't remember the details, I do remember that in the trail master plan, and that it was set as a fairly high priority, but it was defined as just making a bike running path, which we've got the monies for. This really would expand the idea to things along it, reasons to go there. How could we really make that part of this? There's a movement across the country for linear parks. I always talk about the High Line as being the mother of all linear parks, but lots and lots of cities are doing it, and typically it is on an old right-of-way, rail right-of-way. This is a rail right-of-way. It fits right into that category.
Okay. Thank you.
Great park.
If I may, Kevin, for some reason I recall, when we got this fund from the 280, wasn't it 350,000?
It might be, but my memory is that it's 275. But
Well, that's why I didn't.
I
didn't know
haven't
if you
seen a number.
subtracted That 50,000.
No, I just have that number buried in my head, and I might have it wrong.
Well,
But it's quite a bit more than what what we are proposing here, both with OSEC's proposal to make improvements on Firth Park and our proposal to hire a consultant to help us develop a master plan for a linear park.
Any other questions about the reports? All right, so staying with subcommittees, about setting the next upcoming subcommittee meetings. We all have the committees in front of us regards. So Brisbane Derby Day in the Park, needing to meet?
No.
Concerts in the park? Yes, concerts in the park.
Yeah, concerts in the, let's see, I'm thinking about the calendar. Yeah, concerts in the park we should start meeting.
We should start meeting.
Yeah.
Let's say January. Right?
Yeah.
I prefer, yeah.
We need calendars up and people to acquiesce to dates. If we have some now to give Tricia, she'll be very happy for all of us to give her dates. Or prunes. Boom. Okay. It's three jokes tonight.
I have,
She got it.
I have any time the last week of January, it looks like.
Pick a time, and I don't care.
Yeah, pick a time.
Oh, pick a time?
Pick
Pick a date, pick a time. How about Wednesday the 30th at,
I can't make that one.
is that true? Okay, about Tuesday?
And I said I'm free, but I'm taking the seniors on a casino trip.
Well, let's go along then on the
You know what,
casino trip. and-
I'm available on the
All right.
of January 21st. I'm sorry, I'm out the 28th.
You're out the 28th?
Yeah.
Till,
Through the whole week through Friday, traveling.
So
February?
she's suggesting January 21st, which is a holiday.
Or
for some
22nd, yeah. Or 22nd.
22nd, I've got the Star Awards.
No, it's the
No, I don't have the Star Awards anymore. I'm sorry. We could do it on the 22nd. That's next.
Isn't that when the Lions are having their,
No, it's been moved. It's going to
Oh.
be Thursday
oh,
because the
Community center.
community center is closed because there's plumbing issues or something. Okay, the 22nd at what end of the day?
Sure. 5:30.
What's the earliest for you, Natalie?
4:30, 4 o'clock.
Let's say 4:30.
Okay.
That way staff isn't into the wee hours.
Okay, concerts in the park, January 22nd, 4:30. Wonderful. Events, subcommittee.
I don't think we have anything pressing. We're working internally as staff to
Calendar.
kind of line up some things, but I don't think there's a need to meet at this time unless the commission wants to. Okay.
Okay, festival.
No.
Festival of Lights. No. Habitat Restoration Day.
Yes.
when is that? Are we supposed to meet?
Yes, Jeff wants to meet.
Okay,
So that's Sharon and you, Bonnie.
yeah.
Of course, I forgot my calendar, but I know pretty much all the times I'm free right now. Is there a preference of when Jeff wants to meet?
No.
Well, I'm back in town next Thursday. I don't, without a calendar in front of me, if you give me some dates, I can say yes or no.
I
Yep.
think between Bonnie and Jeff, I don't think it really matters, like if you pick a date, unless it's the week of the day she's going to the casino.
Right.
Then I think she'll
Okay,
come.
let me,
And Jeff will make work, whatever.
Well,
Do you wanna,
do you wanna
wanna
do it the
check with her?
22nd?
We're already
I know,
meeting.
but can we meet after that or before that?
Yeah, it can be after. Do you want to do it after the Star Awards? That's fine. It's not.
Well,
Pre-
the
it's,
Star Awards are Thursday. The 22nd isn't the Star Awards.
Oh.
So,
sure.
I mean, that way, because I was supposed to have something then and I know
Yeah.
I don't, so I'm open. Yeah, can we do it before the 4:30 meeting? I'm
Yeah, if you guys can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
3:30?
3:30, is that good?
3:30 on the 22nd.
Yeah,
Okay.
cool, that makes it easy too.
Public art.
We're meeting Monday.
Well, that's not our subcommittee, that's the Public Arts
Is it?
Committee. Yeah, so we still have,
We don't meet then.
no, we meet then, the Public Arts Advisory Committee, but that's a separate, whole separate thing from
Us.
this. We still have this, we still have as a subcommittee,
Because Angel called me.
right.
Right.
Yes,
Is the subcommittee still required, needed?
well, I had asked that before, and we decided to keep it on for, I forget what reason.
Mainly because those people would be the representatives.
Oh, right, because we're there, because
Okay.
we're in name, so if things change
Mhm.
down
Yeah.
the future, then somebody else would be on there, and then they would be assigned.
So not a
Do
nec-
we-
So we do meet, yes.
Okay.
We do meet on the 14th.
you meet on the 14th, but there's not a need to meet for the subcommittee?
No.
Okay, wonderful. Recreational programs.
I don't recall that we've met.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
We should meet.
Okay,
Um,
that
They ha-
settles it.
we shall meet.
Okay.
Now, the dates. The magical dates. Natalie, you seem like you're somewhat open. I appreciate that.
Yes, on the week of the 22nd,
20.
and then out the 28th, the week of the 28th. Free the week of the 4th, February 4th.
Wednesday, the 23rd work. No, 28th.
28th.
Does the 23rd of January work for you?
It does not work for me. I know that. If we could do the first week of February, would that be?
Yeah, that's fine. That Wednesday is the 5th?
It's the 6th.
Oh, sorry. 6th.
So let's put down the 6th at 5:30.
Okay.
We're waiting for confirmation. That's just tentative out there.
Yeah, for me it works. I'm also available if David's not available on that Tuesday, February 5th, and I'm available on the 7th.
So are you available the 6th, Natalie?
Yes.
Okay, so 6 right now.
Nope. I have my.
Going once? No.
No. Can't do it. I'm out all
Tuesday
day.
or Thursday,
Uh,
the 5th or the 7th?
I'm available on the,
yes. Someone does that to make sure that I know what's going on.
I'm available on the 5th,
The 5th? Let's do the 5th. I can do the 5th.
anytime.
Not anytime,
After
5:30?
5:30.
So February 5th, 5:30, recreational programs will meet.
Okay.
Recreational facilities. We did.
Yeah.
I don't see a need for us to need to meet yet.
You'll just give us an update of what
Yes.
what's going to be
Going
happening.
deeper
Yes.
sleep.
Yep.
Okay.
Seniors.
We don't need to meet.
Okay. We heard a presentation from the YAC tonight. Does the YAC subcommittee need to meet? Or was that subcommittee about getting the YAC started again, or is it as advisories to the YAC?
Both.
Okay. As you heard me ask tonight, if there's anything that we can do, I guess potentially if we have some of the members from the YAC potentially come either February or March. Following those, probably a meeting would be necessary to hear what they need. So
Or
Think-
what we've done before too is we've had the teen services subcommittee come to one of the YAC meetings.
Okay.
Exactly, yeah.
So we can try and marry those two.
okay,
Yeah, once we'll get the schedule from Ricardo once the new people are on board, and then we can coordinate a
Okay.
subcommittee meeting from there.
sounds good.
Okay.
Trails Development Subcommittee. Kevin.
Not until we hear.
Yeah, I think we would gear up if we do get the city council to agree to fund a master plan for
Yep.
Crocker Trail, then that would also intersect with,
Okay.
with trails, and then maybe we should meet at that point.
Agreed. I just wanted to make sure we're all in agreement with that.
Yeah.
And the last one is the 280 sale proceeds, and that's, again, there's advisory.
Right.
Yep. Okay. All right, that sets our subcommittee meetings for those that are needing it. We'll move on to reports from commissioners. Any reports from any commissioners? Next, we move on to staff reports.
Happy New Year, everybody. I just have a few class and program reports. Winter break camps are over, and week 1 was a little slow. We had 21 campers that week. We didn't do a off-site field trip that week. The second week, we had twice as many. We had 42 campers, and they went bowling at Seabowl. So winter break is always weird. It seems like there's 1 week where like families go away, and then there's 1 week where they're all back. So I think that's the difference for that. The spring break camps are online and open for registration. I have like 3 people registered for each week, but it's April 1st through the 5th, and the second week is April 8th through the 12th, and they'll be going to Sky High Sports the first week and Golden Gate Park the second week. We have the baseball registration that just opened up on Tuesday. Usually it's full, like quickly. And this year, I think it has to do with the ages and how they age out to the next level. And so the highest level, the Mustang level, which is the 9 and 10-year-olds, that's full, which is usually the case. The Pinto, which is the 7 and 8-year-olds, that one always seems to be full. But this year, right now, we only have 5, and we still have 7 openings for that one. And the T-ball's going big this year. We've got 10 registered with 2 openings left. So we will definitely have all 3 of them this year. I think we had to cancel T-ball last year because we didn't get enough signups. So that one's going well. And then I have 1 new class, Dawn David's Collective Camp series. She keeps adding new things to her series, which is great because there's a lot of different things for people to go do. This is, it's called Gentle Restorative Yoga, and it's on Sunday nights. Originally in the community center. Noreen will have a conversation with you about that in a little while. So right now it's from 7 to 8 p.m. on Sunday nights up at Mission Blue until further notice. So that's all I have for that.
And I just had a couple of items, just a reminder that the annual CPRS conference is in Sacramento in March 19th through 22nd. We'll probably send a couple of our staff. If any of you are interested in going, please let me know. Better to register early for the early bird discount. An update, I'm sure many of you, if not all of you, have heard about the community center. We had a wastewater flood in there, not this Saturday, but the previous Sunday, excuse me, which caused some damage, and we've had professional cleaners out to disinfect the facility, and in the process have gathered that there may be more extensive damages that have to be addressed. And so we've been dealing internally with rescheduling and relocating and moving and canceling classes and programs, and so we appreciate everybody kind of bearing with us through the process. It's a little bit out of our hands, but we're working with Public Works and their contractors to try and remedy the problem as quickly as we can. And seniors have done a lot of their activities, moved down to the Sunrise Room, and Brisbane Dance Workshop is up at Mission Blue, and Dawn's classes have moved up to Mission Blue too. Star Awards also for the Lions Club. So we know it's chaotic and not ideal, and so we appreciate everybody kind of giving us their understanding and working with us to make a difficult solution as best we can. We are hoping to have more information from Public Works about when we will be able to reopen the community center by the end of the week. We're crossing our fingers that it's sometime next week because we have rental in there next Saturday that we are unable to move to Mission Blue. So we're crossing our fingers that we can get it all stamped, that it's cleaned and sanitized and ready to be used by the public by next week. But we'll keep you posted, and we'll be sure. That was loud. we'll be sure to let the public know as well when we have more information. So there's an update on that. Also, just a few announcements. This Saturday is the final Live at Mission Blue concert, and it's sold out, not surprisingly, but we're very excited. It's going to be a wonderful event. If you intended to buy tickets but realized we were sold out, the artists very graciously opened up their rehearsal time to the public, and so if people are still interested in seeing their performance during a dress rehearsal, the building will be open during their rehearsal time, which, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's 4 to 5.
It's their dress rehearsal is 4 to 5. We're gonna open at 3:30. It is $10 for adults, $5 for seniors, and free for children. It's sort of a no frills. You can sort of watch them go through, and they might stop in a piece and sort something out. For this final concert, really, this is probably one of the greatest groups of artists that have ever been assembled there. It's 4 cellists. They are all at the top of their game professionally. They're all good friends of each other's. They're having a great time playing. They've all played at Mission Blue before, so they know the dynamics of our audience and of the space. So if you're around Saturday afternoon, you want to drop by and hear a really, really extraordinary cello quartet, it will bring you to tears. So.
Yeah. Thank you, Kevin. And then also just a few announcements of other things coming up. The Artist Evening of Sharing will be held on February 2nd. That's Saturday, starting at 7:30, I believe. And that's free admission to the public. We have our lifeguard certification class coming up February 8th through 10th. So for anybody watching at home, this is a great opportunity to get certified before summer. This is the last certification class we will hold before summer. So if people are looking to get certified for summer employment, now's the time to do it. And also, Sarah, our senior rec leader for the after school program, has coordinated a couple additional Parents Night Out events. We did a few towards the tail end of 2018 that were very much appreciated by parents who sent their children, and so she has organized a couple more coming up for this quarter. The first one is on Friday or Saturday, February 16th, following Valentine's Day, to give parents an opportunity to go out on a date night if they so choose, or just have some peace and quiet at home. And then the second one we've decided to hold on Saturday, April 27th, which is the same night as Best PTO Spring Thing, to provide childcare during that event. And that one will be held at the community center instead of Mission Blue. So those 2 events are coming up. Registration is open, space is limited, so encourage parents to take advantage of this opportunity. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to commission matters, written communications, don't believe there are any. And then the commission calendar, with a few dates set for our subcommittee meetings. Anything else on the calendar?
The only other thing that we had on our for the month of February on our calendar was capital improvement projects list. Right. So I'll try to gather that and work with Stuart to bring something to our February meeting.
Okay. Would it be too optimistic to hope that that capital improvement project list, that one of the things we might discuss is this master plan for Linear Park? Because my understanding about the procedures is that we would then recommend that as something to the city council. Is that how?
That's how I understand it.
So I'll be paying attention.
Yes,
to that.
and I will follow up with Stuart following the open space and ecology meeting.
Right, as long as we get a green light from them,
Sure.
then we could put that on our list of capital improvements at our next meeting.
Right.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, I adjourn the meeting at 19:34.
I know, it totally gets my ears too.
Yes, it woke her up. She
Take-
says, "Who was that?"
Did I hit it too hard?
No, it's just your